Hey everyone, and welcome to the LFR tank guide for Halls of Fly Shaping. It's an LFR tank guide for tanks from a tank's perspective, and we're going to start with Darumu the Forgotten. Now, all of these fights have been done down pretty well for LFR. For Darumu, 3 mechanics you got to worry about. There's going to be a tank swap, you're going to be intercepting life drains, and there's going to be a disintegrating beam that you're going to need to worry about. I'm going to show you how to do all of those. The first mechanic of which is going to be the tank swap at 5 stacks. I have another warrior tank in here from our server. We were not on vent. We both knew the fight, so we just went ahead and pulled the boss. What you'll see is that he is getting a debuff stacked on him. When that debuff reaches 5 stacks, you swap. That's all you need to do for that mechanic. And whenever I select him to target, I'll point out the mechanic on his bar like I just did right there. Next time I select them, I'll go ahead and highlight that for you guys so you know what debuff to look for if you are showing it on your UI. DBM, that debuff is called Serious Wound, and there it is on his bar. So as soon as you want to keep an eye on that tank, right now I know next one's going to be 5 stacks, so I'm ready to taunt whenever that DBM warning pops up, which will happen very shortly here. There it is, and I just get clear of those beams and taunt the boss. So you want to stay clear of all these colorful beams that are going around the floor. Just keeps it a little bit easier on the healers, and it's really easy to avoid them. I'm going to go and speed through the next portion of this fight. The next part here is really critical for DPS only. We're going to go ahead and move to the first life drain that goes out. I'll try to point out that beam and see if either me or this off tank hops into it. And then we'll talk about this in a bit. The next mechanic that's going to be coming up here is going to be a life drain. I'm going to get a DBM warning, and there's going to be a beam going out towards Lilith. Now this beam stuns and does damage, so you want to get there and intercept that beam. Now what we're going to have coming up is the most important part of the fight in disintegrating beam. Quickest way to get your bearing on disintegrating beam is to find the beam. It's going to not do damage to you for a little while. Once you found the beam, you got to look for a little purple shit on the ground that's marked start here. And once you find that, you need to get into the reference area that's marked get here on this really fucking crude drawing that I did. Once you're in this area, you're going to be looking for a pathway that I'll show you here in this video. In this fight, it gets a little bit tricky because we haven't killed all the adds, so those colored lines are still on the ground. So it's a little bit trickier to find that starting area. And I'm marked as Moon to help the ranged out here. So they actually get in trouble here because I can't get to that start area yet. Colors disappear. Now there's an opening. I can heroic leap into it. Unfortunately, they cannot. If you're doing the range path as a tank, which is completely plausible, you need to be running to the edge here of the area. So every time you need to get to that shadow wall. Alright, because as you'll see here real shortly, that beam's going to start catching up. And if you're not near the edge and if you're not moving towards the open area, it's going to catch you. The beam only does 1 revolution around the room, so you don't really need to worry about it once you get back towards the front. Now ideally what you'll want to do as a tank is actually stay in the melee safe path for the beam. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to a video from a different fight that I have where I stay in the melee path, which is a little bit more difficult to navigate. During this fight, the DPS has actually managed to kill all 3 adds here before disintegrating beams, so it'll be really easy to point out the starting area that you'll need to get to. So again, Darumu has a set position that he's going to fire this beam off in. So you just get in front and you go ahead and wait for that start area to appear. There it is on the left. I'm going to go ahead and move to it, get right on the edge of that beam, and wait for that beam to start firing, and then move through the melee area as you'll see. The biggest thing to note here on the melee beam is not to panic, and you'll actually see me panic a little bit here as the beam gets a little bit closer. I'll actually move into the eyesore a little bit. And the reason for that is because that beam's getting real close, but you will always have enough time. There'll always be time to get to a new spot. So right there I was a little bit close to the eyesore, but every time it will appear. Just be patient. And sometimes it gets a little bit further from him, but he's got a pretty massive hitbox, so you just need to stay in that area. You're also a tank, so you should be able to take a couple of takes of eyesore. And then you just pick them up and move them in. And that right there is the fight. You just rinse and repeat those phases. Make sure you talent at 5 stacks, and you'll be golden. The next boss coming up here very shortly is going to be Primordial. We jump right into this fight right after the pull. You're already going to see a few ad pools are down, and this is the positioning you're going to want to maintain throughout the fight. The exception is you're going to be kiting the boss around the room whichever way you can get away from these purple pools that spawn the fastest. Now the tank swap in this fight is prompted by malformed blood. It's a debuff that Primordial will put on you. It's going to deal increasing nature damage per stack, so we decided to switch at 7 stacks. Should be coming up real soon here. Our other warrior here is going to tank real quick. There's the taunt, and now I'm free to go about and do some ad DPS and business. Now what you'll see when I'm DPS and ads, I'm getting all kinds of debuffs. What you want to do is you want to keep doing this until you get fully transformed. That allows you to do full damage to Primordial. So it's important that you get this even as a tank. You don't have too much else to do while the other tank is on the boss. You just got to keep an eye on theirs. One thing I should mention about malformed blood is you do not want to take the boss back until your debuff wears off. I actually messed that up in this fight, and thankfully I was on vent with one of the healers, so I was able to coordinate cooldowns with him, but that is not something you want to do. You'll see me do it here. The off tank reaches 7 stacks and I taunt just out of reflex, and it's a little bit too early and he refreshes the stack that I actually have on me. So this fight just gets more and more hectic. You see some purples getting close to the boss, but that really is all the fight is for the tanks. You just have to keep kiting the boss around the room, keep him about this distance from both the center and the edges of the room, and you just want to move along. So right there, as you see, I taunt too early. I now have 8 stacks, and that was not very smart of me. So I'm going to start burning some cooldowns, but I'm going to fast forward through this fight. This fight is very simple, provided your healing and DPS know what they're doing. Just kill those ads when you can, get fully transformed, and you'll be good to go. And that's Primordial. It's kind of a loop pinata. Don't mess up that tank swap like I did, because I'm gonna Final fight in Halls of Flesh Shaping is Dark Animus. You're going to start out split into 2 groups, tank with each group. You want to split your healers, split your DPS. Tell the DPS in raid warning and in raid chat that they need to single target DPS the little ads to the big ads. This should help them get a little bit separated and let the spawns of the big ads get a little bit more spread out. Now just because you tell them this doesn't mean they're going to do it, but it should help you. Hopefully there's a few smart people that understand the concept of the fight and they should follow that. You're going to want to pick up everything that goes to your side, even if there's a ton of it. Just pick it up, tank it. You're better you than healers. And when the actual boss and the 2 massives are up, you're going to want to have either the boss or both of the massives. Now as soon as the medium ads come out, your primary concern is Crimson Wake. You're going to want to look for fires on the ground and move out of them as fast as possible. This right here will make or break the fight. That's the fire right there. And just make sure you move out of all of them. There's going to be a lot of them. Keep moving. I like to run around in a little circle so that I don't tunnel vision and get stuck in an area. Again, picking up everything on your side, staying out of fires, and it just depends on the raid, staying out of fires as well. Make sure you don't take a whole lot of damage from those wakes, and pick up all your ads, and just wait for the DPS to do their jobs. Now shortly what you're going to start seeing is that both the boss and the massive golems on the end of the room are going to start activating. What we decided before the fight was that one of us was going to take both massives and one of us was going to take the boss. So when all of these ads come out, you want to grab them though. You want to make sure that they don't start smacking healers, don't start smacking DPS. So you want to get them on you, and then you sort it out once things settle down a little bit with these medium ads. As I was saying, that massive in the back is going to activate. He's going to come over here. I don't want him hitting healers. I want him hitting DPS. I'm going to pick him up, bite the bullet a little bit. I got armor. That's what I use it for. I'm going to tank all this shit and stay out of the fires as best as I can. And we decided that whoever's side the Dark Animus comes to, that's who's going to pick him up. He came to my side, so even though I have all this shit on me already, I pick him up, use some cooldowns, depend on my healers. They do a good job. They keep me up. Now the massive golem will do an ability called Explosive Slam, which he'll do right here, and he'll slam the ground. I'm going to get a debuff that's going to make me take more damage from that, and the Dark Animus will do an ability called Anima Ring, and what Anima Ring does is it puts these bubbles around me. Each one of the bubbles you hit is a 50% increase in melee damage taken, so you want to only hit one if at all possible. I'll show you what your raid members and what your off tank should be doing to help you out in a little bit. Now the off tank just grabbed the second massive off of me, just like we discussed prior. Like I said, things settled down a bit. He was able to make that tank swap, There's another anima ring, I run out of it, and this is the rest of the fight. You want the DPS to kill the massives first, and then you just get on Dark Animus and burn. Once you get past that Crimson Wake slot, it's basically just a real easy tank and spank. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and cut to a little trick that the off tank can do to help the main tank out when he is not tanking Dark Animus. So what you're going to see is Kim with the triangle is to my left. As soon as that anima ring spawns, he starts hitting the bubbles, and because he's to my left and now he's on my right, every time that animus ring spawns, 2 of those bubbles are going to get immediately taken out by him. He's not taking any more melee damage, so this helps me get out of the anima ring without taking a debuff, and we just ended up swapping back and forth like this towards the end of the fight. If you're the off tank, do this for your main tank. Hopefully they're smart enough to notice and don't still run around. So right there, same thing. And that's the fight, guys, and that is the instance. This fight should get you to your shoulders. I hope you enjoyed the guide. Subscribe if you'd like, and any comments, suggestions are welcome. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the Lightning Pinnacle.